You want to hear something funny?
What's that?
You know who should be scared?
Black people. Black people.
We're the ones that have had hundreds of years of violence and oppression inflicted upon us. Black people in America have never put anyone in chains and said, do as I say. Like, that happened to us. When Get Out, the movie Get Out came out.
I love that movie.
I saw Get Out, and I live in an affluent town in Westchester. I would be walking home from the train station. I never had these thoughts before until I saw the movie. And I'm walking home from the train station late one night, and I'm like looking at the cars going by. It's like one lone car driving by. I'm looking back to see if it stops. That movie, Get Out, messed me up.
Don't lose your thought.
No, I'm gonna go right into it. So in sales, like the idea that you shouldn't even try to persuade somebody. I think lately for me, I've been of the mindset that I don't want to persuade anyone about anything. I want people to see my value for themselves on their own and say, yes, he's the person that I want. And I kind of like, there's a great story by this guy named Robert Glasper. And he's an amazing musician, Grammy winning jazz. I don't want to just categorize him as just jazz, but he's primarily known for like jazz. Anyway, I think Lauryn Hill wanted him to audition to perform with her.
Right.
And he's basically like, I got albums out there. You can go listen to one of my albums. Like, I think at that point he had Grammys. It's like, you got Grammys, I got Grammys. I'm not going to audition for you. You can go listen. And if you don't like what I do, then that's fine. But if you do, you know, and I have the same idea about like my website. If you go to my website and you like what you see, and you go to my clients' websites and you like what I see, why would I ever try to convince you of if I'm the right fit for you? Like, you can figure that out for yourself. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it. You know, so I don't sell anybody anymore. I just show up as me, and you either like me or you don't.
But that's selling. You're still selling yourself. You may not think you're selling yourself, but that your presence, your attitude, not good or bad, just the way you present your attitude, your essence, let's say, how you promote yourself. You may not think you're promoting yourself, but your websites are a promotion of your work, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's you promoting yourself. You may say you don't sell yourself, but your websites speak for themselves, correct? Good, so you're selling yourself.
I'm definitely wearing a blazer
You know what I'm saying?
on my website, looking, you know, like money.
Right? The way you translate what you can do for your client and what they're putting their money towards, because it's gonna, you know, what they're investing in, they're investing into themselves, right? So they're telling you the story, and you're writing the book for them through a website or through a logo, right? People see it as, all right, it's just a logo, it's just an image. No, look at FedEx. People paid for that. People don't even realize that there's an arrow in the FedEx, right? The X and the E make an arrow.
That's right.
Right. Okay. In the UPS logo, it's a parcel. If you look at it, right.
So
No one looks at that.
with a bow.
McDonald's. Look at McDonald's. Golden arches, right? Okay, those are logos that people recognize, and it's that the product is selling itself. So yes, you are a salesperson. Yes, you sell your product.
You're right.
Whether or not you want to believe that, that's up to you. But you're selling your product through the magnificent work that you put out for your clients.
You're right. You are correct. And I think there's definitely, for a lot of people, myself included, a negative connotation with the word sales. Like I always say, I don't like to be sold. I think just a lot of times I feel like it insults my intelligence. That's because I understand that sales has a lot to do with psychology. And it's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that your brain like picks up subconsciously, but on the front end, it's not necessarily registering what the salesperson is actually doing to you or how they're manipulating you. And that part almost always insults my intelligence and like triggers me. I'm like, stop trying to sell me. Like, take your Jedi mind tricks and get out of here. I'm buying from somebody else. But it's good to be aware, because I think if you know the psychology of sales, which is the psychology of persuasion,
there we go,
then you can be a more effective communicator, you know, the way that you got me to agree to bring on somebody else as a guest when I wasn't interested.
See, I'm happy you said persuasion. So sales has such a bad. All right, so I got into sales. That's a lie. I was in sales before car sales 13 years ago because I was in control. You're still selling yourself no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. So I had this, sales has such a bad stigma, especially car salesmen. At one point in like the 50s, car salesmen were like renowned as amazing, trustworthy. Go see that person in that suit. They're going to sell you your dream, right? And now we're considered like the lowest scum from a few bad apples, right? All right, so everyone says, oh, car salesmen are bad. No, some of us actually try to look out for you and help you make your decision. Why'd you walk in the dealership in the first place, right? Obviously, buy a car. All right, so you're going to tell me that all doctors are bad? All teachers are bad? All lawyers are bad? All digital creators are bad?
Looking that way.
Right? But they're not. So you have a few bad apples and now we have this bad stigma on us saying that we're all bad people. No. If someone comes in, they're looking to buy a car, either you're going to buy one from me or the next person. There's plenty of cars, especially in this country we live in. You're selling yourself. So you're buying the experience. You're buying the salesperson. You're buying the dealership. What's the experience you're getting? It's a great customer service. The person you're talking to, are they knowledgeable about the product they're selling? Whether it be cars, houses, websites, toothbrush, it doesn't matter. And people are like, oh, toothbrush. Yeah, you can buy a normal toothbrush, right? From CVS, right? Or I can sell you this toothbrush that vibrates at 1,000 miles per minute, and it will get all the tartar off your teeth as it puts a glow to make sure that the bacteria, you know what I'm saying?
It uses the same sonic technology that bats use to navigate the tombs of in Mallorca. All right, so let's bring it to the black male perspective. What's it like being a black salesman in a white town? What is that like on a daily?
All right, so I can give you different experiences. Do you want to do the intro while we're doing this, though?
Welcome to Products of Circumstance. It's a podcast with Ken Skeen and myself, Fenton Joseph. We discuss mental health and mindset matters through the lens of black men. And we're already recording. And we're talking about sales and the psychology of that. And now I'm very interested to hear about your perspective as a black person speaking to all different types of people. But I did point out, like you are in a predominantly white town,
yes,
right, where you do sales. So, and how that has an impact on what you do.
All right. So, I mean, where I'm at right now, it's the people around there. It's fine. They're not looking at my skin tone. I'm a sales manager. I'm here to help them. I'm here to give them some information, make sure the numbers can line up so that we can get a handshake and an agreement to say you're purchasing a vehicle. I've been in towns though with suit, tie. I wear French collar shirts. I've the
monograms,
Windsor knot on my tie. I wear cufflinks. I have a nice collection of cufflinks. Big fan of them. When I have my full jacket on, my socks will match my handkerchief. I look nice. I'm very well presented. But I've worked in towns where being a black man, even looking that presented and well spoken, I won't even get a handshake. They'll ask me, where's the next person at? They won't look my way. They won't even acknowledge that I'm in front of them. And the first time it happened, I think I was my third year into sales at that point. I wasn't a manager yet. I was still a salesperson. And it didn't hurt. It was just like, really? This really is still going on? You'd rather talk to someone who doesn't look professional, like the guy with the polo shirt, like he just rolled out of bed and he was wearing the same clothes at the club last night. You'd rather talk to that guy instead of the clean-cut, well-dressed man in front of you. Forget black or white for a second because of the color of my skin. And it was the first time that I worked in that kind of a town. So anyone knows, I was working in Patchogue. I was in Patchogue, Long Island, working at a dealership. And I won't say the dealership because it wasn't their fault. But yeah, many, many times I was there for a year. And the customers would come in, look at me and say, yeah, no. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to lie and say it didn't hurt a little bit. I'm like, oh, seriously? Like, this still goes on? Because you want to forget. I guess you just want to forget it as a black man sometimes that it does still happen, you know, the profiling.
Right.
But I moved on, you know, I still have family to feed. So I figured if you don't want to talk to me, I'll talk to the next guy.
Right.
And maybe you got a better deal and not screwed over talking to me than that guy. So it is what it is.
What does that do for your like ability to sell in the moment?
When it first started, because that was the first time I experienced that compared to when I was working in Hempstead. And so it was my first time experiencing it in sales, not my life, but in sales. So it affected me a little bit for a couple of days, I guess, or a couple of weeks, getting used to being around a new demographic of people. But other than that, I just kept it moving because it is what it is. I mean, it's not like the first time I dealt with it.
Right.
At that point in my life, I was 32, turning 33.
Oh, okay.
I had been pulled over for driving while black when I was 18.
Black kids that are 2 turning 3 have experienced
you know what I'm saying? I'm 22 years old in my car with a suit on when I was a project supervisor with guns drawn. Not guns, one gun drawn from a police officer who pulled me over.
Too many.
He had a gun drawn, and his this was in Hicksville. I was leaving Broadway Mall during Christmas time. I had a bunch of presents in the back, and like bags in the back. He said, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" His partner actually had to tell him to holster his gun. It's like, this guy does not look like a threat. What are you doing? His partner, white partner, holster your gun. This guy does not look like a threat. What you know? So it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I laugh it off now. I laugh it off. It is what it is.
Wow.
Things happen. People are stupid. No, not stupid. People are ignorant.
You say ignorant? I like stupid. But I try not to say stupid because I don't want my daughter saying stupid. So I try to curtail that.
Right.
That's interesting. Like doing what I do, I own a company, and I've definitely felt like getting on a sales call, people didn't think that I was the person who owns the company. Maybe because my counterpart is Caucasian, and I'm like, over here, I'm the one making the decisions here. It's me. I'm the guy with the hat. It's the guy with the hat and the t-shirt. I'm not an overly enthusiastic employee. I own the company. But it isn't, like you said, at that point, I'm grown. It doesn't really, it's not going to stop me from doing what I have to do. I acknowledge it and I process it, but you push through and you do what you got to do. I'm a big believer that like what other people do and how they respond to you says way more about them than it does about you.
Right.
So I don't internalize anything. I don't like, well, it must be something about me that they don't like or whatever. It's like, nah, there's something about you that you don't like. Actually, right. That's the real fact. Like, I'm just a mirror. What do you see? Like, you don't like what you see? That's not my fault.
In your industry, right? So you do digital design. It's predominantly white. But do you see yourself competing more because of being a black man? Or do you see when, like, it's just now you said, a client sees you on a phone call or a video chat, and then they may be sometimes taken back. Oh, it's a black man. It's black owned. Okay. Is it Do you see it a lot more now, or is it that people kind of just are getting used to the fact that, you know, black men and women can actually do the job as well?
I think my work speaks for itself, and that's certainly helpful. Mm-hmm. Like, it helps to be good at what you do. Let's just start there. Regardless of what color you are, like, you should be dope. And so I know I'm dope. It gives me a certain level of confidence going into conversations that I don't have to prove myself. I know my worth. I know my value. I know my capabilities. So I'm a lot more at this age at 42. I'm way better at just showing up and being like it or love it. You know, I'm unbothered. I'm telling you, bro, you don't like what I do? That's completely okay with me. There's a line of people. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not even taking any more clients for the rest of the year. Like I'm done. I'm booked. I'm working. So it's September for anyone who's watching this. I'm also, you know, I'm confident. I'm a confident guy, you know, so I don't get phased. Like I'm handsome. I know I'm handsome. My mommy and daddy made a handsome young man. Like I know that. So when I get on Zoom and I look at myself on the screen next to the other person, I'm like, hey, look at that guy. I'd be happy to see me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't expect that people get on the call and they're like, oh, you know, he's weirder looking than we thought he would be. You know, so I have a level of confidence. I carry myself a certain way, you know, where I love me, you know, and so there's not a lot of doubts and things like that. I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And, you know, we talk about that a lot. Or maybe I talk about that a lot. Where if this is your first time watching the show, then like, please know, I say this a lot. I'm not interested in being good at what I'm not good at. I know what I'm great at and I rock with that. I lean into my strengths. And that allows me to always show up in the room like, yeah, I know I can do that. I know I can do that. I'm not even going to try to do it. Imagine going into the gym and knowing that you can't squat 400 pounds and trying to squat 400 pounds. Like, that's not what you do. Like, you're going to break your back. You're going to end up on a stretcher getting pulled out of here. Like, why would you even do that? If you were going to do anything, start squatting with just the bar. Get your form right first and work your way up. Mm-hmm. I'm not even interested in that. I'm going to go right to the bench press and I'm going to show out. And you know what? If people will say, well, you don't skip leg day. He skips leg day. You know what? Well, people would say lots of things no matter what you do. So don't worry about what people say. I only build WordPress websites. I don't send any emails. I don't do TikTok videos. I don't do social media. There's a lot of things that my company doesn't do. I don't look at it like I'm at a deficit, you know, like, oh, well, I can't compete with these other people. No, I compete with the people who do the same thing that I do, and I'm better than them. I'm not competing with the people who do stuff that I don't do.
Right.
Like so I think from a confidence level and being able to show up and sell and persuade people to work with me, I'm going to nail it every time because I'm just so confident about, you know, who I am and what I bring to the table.
Now, you've been doing this how many years now?
I've been building sites for over 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
All right. So in the beginning, because it takes time to build the confidence because you have to actually put the product out and get the feedback and, you know, build that portfolio. So in the beginning, I've known you a long time, so you've always been a confident person, especially when you were doing the music production.
6 months. It's been a long relationship. No, it's good.
But in the beginning, when you first started, what spark did you have that you realized I don't need to do all the things that I'm not strong at, and started just pushing them aside to say, you know what, these are my strengths. This is what I'm going to focus on. This is the path I'm going to choose to take and stop worrying about everything else. How long did it take you to get to that level of let me work on all my strengths and stop worrying about everything else? How many years, months did that really take you, though?
This is going to sound like I'm making this up, but I promise everybody who's listening, I'm not making this up. I've always been this way. I don't know if it's laziness, if it's just like, I just want to do what I want to do. When I was a kid, my sixth grade teacher wrote up a report card and she said, Fenton is easily satisfied with mediocrity.
What?
And I remember thinking to myself, like, one, that's a big word for a sixth grader. But I was a smart sixth grader and I knew what she meant. She was saying Fenton is very bright, like naturally bright, but he doesn't want to work hard. He'll do the bare minimum and that's it. And the reason why it, till this day, so many years later, it stuck with me is because no, I'm not easily satisfied with mediocrity. I don't do mediocre. I do awesome where I want to do awesome. And I don't bother with anything else. So it's like, clearly I had assignments or subjects or whatever that didn't interest me. And so I didn't really bother with those things. I did the bare minimum. I'm like, you're not going to fail me. Like, I'm a pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm not going to be a rock star at this subject if that's not what I want to do. And the crazy thing is, and I'll come back to, the question is that my kid is the same way. Like my kid she wants to do what she wants to do. And it's the things that she's interested in. Like she loves arts and crafts. Like she's super creative and everything. And, my wife works with her on the other stuff, the math, and reading and things like that to make sure that she's like up to snuff. But she has no problem diving into the arts and the music, and we work on all that stuff. And I'm like, wow, it's not on you, it's in you. I was the same person. I did not see the value. For me, I'm not saying this for everybody else. I didn't see the value in trying to do everything. And I had friends that did. And, they went on to do great things in life. They're very accomplished people. But they seemed really stressed out. You know what I'm saying? Like, my trigonometry exam. I'm like, who's going to use trigonometry? Like, why do you care about that? You know what class I was really good at? Typing. I saw the future, I guess.
I mean, there's voice to text nowadays.
Yeah, and wouldn't you know, I ended up having a web design business. Like, I can type really fast. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I like typing. And they had the speed test. And if you go really far back, and this is like in high school, but if you go really far back, you had pause.
I remember that.
Remember pause?
Yeah.
And it's like pause was like,
I'm a what is it? Pecking, but I'm fast.
The fast pecker. Pause. Fast. Yo, hey. I can. I move around the keyboard.
PG-13.
And I'm trying to move past it. And I really, I love music. I focus on that. I love art. I focus on that. I love design. I focus on that. Like, to your question, like, how did I know? Whatever. Like, I've been like that since I was a kid. Much to the chagrin of my teachers, because they saw the potential for me to excel in lots of different areas. But I've just never had a desire to do things that didn't really capture my interest. I was a bit of a rebel, man. Like I've been like anti-establishment for a while. Like, I'm not a big fan of the education system. I'm not a fan of just rote memory, being the foundation of our education system and teaching kids to remember stuff that doesn't actually have a lot of value, a lot of like true value in their day-to-day lives. And meanwhile, omitting education about things that actually have impact on their everyday lives, like financial literacy. Like, it always seemed like a rat race to me. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, what is the point of this? I didn't see it. And I told my parents from a very young age that I didn't want to go to college.
Right.
I must have been single digits when I told my parents I didn't want to go to college. It didn't make any sense. I was a little kid. It didn't make any sense. I was like, what are we doing here? What's the point of this? It's like, look at all these books.
Look, it's to learn how to function in society. That's what
it is. It's, you know, but I'm like, look at all these books. My parents had a library. I'm like, look at all these books. I can read any of these books that I want. There's science books. There's books about English. There's books about grammar. Oh, look who grew up to be a great speaker. Fenton, the guy who read books about English. Like, why did I have to go to college to read books about English when they're sitting in my house? Books about the law. Books, you know what I'm saying? Like, it, to me, it never made sense. Like, I just buy books and I read. And I'm not saying that, you know, medical doctors shouldn't have, you know, like, obviously.
Well, if you go to Florida, you can get your nursing degree for free. So, ouch.
There you go. I think everybody needs to kind of take inventory of themselves and their situation, and, you know, figure out whether, you know, how you learn, you know, how you interact with other people. What's the best way for you to become a persuasive person, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because there are some people like I love listening to you talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're not afraid to go up to somebody and just start a conversation with somebody. Some people aren't like that. Mm-hmm. You know, some people are more reserved. But you can still be an effective communicator, even if you're a reserved individual. You know, right. I'm not reserved by any means. Like, you can listen to me talk, but I won't always start a conversation. Once I'm in it, but I won't always start it. And so I had to find ways for me to, you know, and being a black man, you know, sometimes starting the conversation can be awkward, you know, because it's like.
You still feel that way?
In the sense that why I have to be the one, because you don't want to talk to me. That's how I feel sometimes. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's like, well, white people, it's like, they're not going to say anything to me. Like, they're not going to talk to me. You
that makes me start conversations with them. I love watching people feel awkward and uncomfortable.
You're a little sadistic. Yeah.
A little bit, but not in the sense of being sadistic. I love watching people go from awkward and uncomfortable to seriously just letting go for a second. That's why I love starting conversations. Sorry to cut you off, by the way.
No, you're good.
That's why I love starting conversations with just random people, which my wife sometimes can't understand. It's like, what? Please? She has to warn me sometimes. Babe, we're out with the family. You don't have to start with this conversation. We're at the beach watching the sunset. You don't have to let everyone.
So are they. And we're talking about how beautiful it is. What's the problem?
But I love it. And you can just see sometimes, yeah, people are people, right? And they're gonna be whoever they want to be. But once you start a conversation, you can actually keep it going. And it doesn't have to be intellectual. Sometimes it's just be a conversation. I remember
it's exhausting, bro. I'm sorry, but I want to stay there because it's exhausting. Because I sometimes I just get so fed up. It's like, yeah, we're all just people and we're all bleed red. And I understand that. And it's like, so then you know what? Y'all should start acting like it. When you see me walking down the street, say hello. Do you know how, and it's a rhetorical question because I know that you know, but it's like super annoying and frustrating and lots of other adjectives to like walk down the street and see somebody see you and they just like look the other direction, you know? But when a black person walks down the street and I see you, it's like, what's up?
What's up?
You know what I'm saying?
Head nod. All right, but wait. Some people are just scared because they don't know, right? Things will scare you if you don't have education on it.
What things? Me?
Black people.
Look at me.
Yes, black people.
Look at this beard.
You know the neighborhood I live in. Okay, so when they see me in a suit,
my back hurts.
I get, hey, how you doing, sir? How you doing? But when I'm out there in a short sleeve shirt and my one of 27 tattoos are showing, I have to make sure I keep a smile on my face so they don't think that I'm a criminal or have a temper. So, but when someone starts talking to me, especially, someone Caucasian starts talking to me, they realize, oh, he's a nice person. But maybe people are just in their own bubble of, well, black people might rob me or black people might be dangerous, especially black men. Forget black people. Black
I
men.
don't know where this maybe is coming from. That was just
that, you know, black men are
it.
dangerous and black men this and black men that. No. I'm actually one of the friendliest people you meet. Unless you mess with my family, then it's a different story. Or my good friends. But one of the friendliest people you might ever meet. And I'll have a nice conversation with you if you allow it.
You want to hear something funny?
What's that?
You know who should be scared?
Us.
Black people.
Black people.
Because we're the ones that have had hundreds of years of violence and oppression inflicted upon us. we black people in America have never put anyone in chains and said, do as I say. Like, that happened to us. And
right.
Somehow I'm the threat. It's like, yes. I'm scared. You know what was so funny? When Get Out, the movie Get Out came out.
I love that movie.
I saw Get Out. And I live in an affluent town in Westchester. Mm-hmm. And I would be walking home from the train station. I never had these thoughts before until I saw the movie. And I'm walking home from the train station late one night. And I'm like looking at the cars going by. It's like one lone car driving by. I'm looking back to see if it stops. That movie, Get Out, messed me up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was scared for my life walking through this neighborhood. And it's funny because like we live here. Partly because, you know, we both were working in Manhattan, and I was particularly working very late nights, you know, in project management. I might come home 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I know, you know what, baby, you can stay asleep. I can walk home from the train station. It's a 10-minute walk and I'm gonna be totally safe. It's totally fine. It's not a thing. But after Get Out, that changed everything. You know, I've talked about it before, how like I grew up in a white neighborhood. And I'm super comfortable around white people. I am a believer in God. I believe He made all of us the same and equal. I have lots of white friends. I like my life is just a hodgepodge, right? And so I hope that some of my Caucasian friends and colleagues are watching this. I really, really, really do. So that they get kind of an insight. Maybe you didn't feel comfortable having a conversation with me about my thoughts on the matter. This is an open format. I'm just speaking. It's an open letter to everybody about how Black men, you know, sometimes feel about these situations. I don't say made to feel, because how anyone feels about anything is how they feel about it. You know, but in case you were wondering what Fenton's thoughts were, I'm gonna repost this one. That's for sure. I repost everything, but whatever.
You're doing an amazing job, by the way.
You're doing an amazing job.
No.
I wouldn't have anything to repost if you weren't posting. So it starts with you.
Well, that's a nice wrap up right there.
It always catches me off guard. Yeah, man. Hey, listen. For anybody who is watching this, and if you have comments, please leave it in the comment section below. You know, we'll definitely respond. If you're a Black person and, you know, you find yourself working in a predominantly, you know, white environment, what are your feelings about that? You know, is it easy for you to thrive on your job? Do you feel challenges? Like, you know, let us know in the comment section, or, you know, shoot us a DM. Whatever, you know, it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, it is. Enjoyed that
very much.
All right, shooting from the hip.
Yeah, this show really is unedited, unfiltered, unscripted. We're not joking when we say that. You know, but it's good because that's how real conversations go. Mm-hmm. And this is meant to be a recording of just real conversation. So if anyone feels like, you know, lacking structure or whatever, it's like, you know, that's how conversations are. So you're just joining us for a converstion. But hopefully you'll join in the comments. And
just a couple of people having a talk.
Shut up. All right, peace.
Later.